That's $8,004,375, whatever, $8.5 million bucks. Divide that by 25. And it's really, your debt payment should only be about $337,000 a year. It's a good mistake if I'm right.
It is a good mistake.
But that's
I
pretty much,
very much doubt it, just because Run Securities is probably the premier company in the state in doing this. The gentleman, Mr. Jostens, that actually usually originates and works on a lot of these, is considered the foremost in the state in loan and bonding process. So
Actually, we used to go to the bank, and you can stop at the bank at an amortization table.
Yeah, I would tell you right.
You can do that over here too. I mean, that's the point.
what I'm getting at is, I'm no premier nothing in the state, but my dad spent a lot of money on me to go to college for finance, so I know a little bit about it.
Well, I think it's certainly worthwhile.
Well, it makes a big difference on what you're gonna vote. It does. And I don't think
Go get it. Yeah. Run $6 million at
well, it's
25.
the 10% that's required to be over the project, so you'll have to run at 6.6 just to include the $10 million requirement of the state.
Do we put out bond bids for our ruling or for the bonding capacity, or do we?
Or actually, there's a better interest rate right now through SRF loans.
We just don't even go to bond?
Correct. That's a better rate than actually going out on the bond market.
But are we still using? Do we use Ruin Securities?
Yes.
Well, what are your comments?
Yeah, I would like to weigh in more on the idea of part being assessed to taxes. Frankly, I admit I've got personal interest. I do itemize my taxes, and it would make a portion of it deductible, whereas my sewer rate certainly isn't. But I agree with Dr. Brenny that you're looking at slamming a bigger percentage according to their income to the people at the bottom of the scale if you strictly put it on rates. And I would like to weigh in at whatever the shorter number that we can work out. I think it's a good idea, a 25 rather than a 30, because you're trying to take a long-term guess as to how long is the sewer plant going to last, and if it only lasts 20 years and you're still paying 10 years past that, my God, you're going to be paying on 2 sewer plants. So I'd urge the council to look at the shorter term payments, but also look at putting a portion on the taxation.
We take that comment because we did talk about that, but we wanted to offer options. And
Sure.
what we don't want to do is come to the end of it and have a plant that we need to refit again, and we're still paying for this.
And that's the reason this meeting is we have no idea what we're going to do yet.
Right, and we want public input. We want you to know what we're trying to accomplish, and we want to know what your feelings are.
Well, I agree with him. I don't think you'd want to go above the 25-year, and hopefully it would go 25
Well, the
years.
engineers say 28 years. They're pretty confident that if it was maintained well, that it would go for 28 years, because this one went for longer than it was supposed to.
That'd be great.
So if we could get it paid off a little bit sooner, that would be really, really good.
I was thinking, like Brian said, so many people are in favor of just a rate increase. But then again, there's talk that if you do that, then maybe people will try to cut back on their water assumption, and therefore you're not going to come up with enough money again when you go that route.
I think that's a worrisome point,
But you
because
just
that
hate
very well
to,
could happen.
you hate to always see these taxes keep getting increased too,
That's what everybody's concern was with Coleman.
you know? And maybe that 25-year with a tax increase would be a good way to go. Maybe if you just went on a rate increase, it'd be too hard on the heavy users. Or it'd work good for the lighter users, I'm sure. You know?
Sandy, did you?
At $6.6 million at 3 1/4, it's $390,000.
For 25 years,
25.
right between Brent and Nunavut on it. Did you have 410?
420 is what's projected in here.
There must be some costs we don't know about.
Well, as I said, there's the processing cost, there's the mean, there's other costs associated outside of just the actual facility itself, which is that in. There's additional costs.
So I think, you know, it'd be just a good point when you bring up to them, what is the difference between the 390 versus the 419, and just have them justify that cost.
And in the end, they'll finalize numbers when we actually get into the process of actually signing paper. So,
2 million's a lot of money in the difference you come up with, but does everybody here feel that 6 million is sufficient?
We
You know,
feel like
the old
they,
saying is sometimes you get what you pay for, but 2
except
million's a lot
the
of...
plan is completely different. What they originally wanted us to do was build a plant for the highest volume of water that goes through there. It might be like 3 times a year. So what they ended up doing was building a like a holding tank for that extra volume of water, so we could let it out gradually and not have to treat the amount of water that we only have 3 or 4 times a year.
The biggest part of it is our, Bob will attest to that, and Tom and Mr. Duffy, that infiltration's so bad. You get a 3-inch rain, we're treating clear water out there.
Sure.
And have a holding pond, that'll settle it out, and we still treat it, but it'll delay. Sorry, Danny, there you go.
Yeah, you got a tough one to call here.
Where do we stand on the property yet?
Is all, Adam's taken,
we're
that's
just
all
waiting on
done.
to call and to draw it up. We have all the language. We're just waiting on call and to draw it up.
Okay.
Yes,
Well, being an owner of property and an owner of rental property, I say the only fair way is to split the rates up to taxes and usage. If you have rental property and you have a couple that is hard pressed because they can't own a house and their rates are high just to move into your rental property, I think it's going to hurt the system. I think it should be both.
I'd like to see what Larry said with the rest of the people that are out there. How many, like Brent, what would you,
I think what he just said is how I feel. I also
feel-
feel that the shorter amount of time you can pay for it, the better. But our last sewer plant lasted 30 years, but my guess is, how long did we bond for that? Does anybody know? 10, 15 years?
No, it's more like 20, 25.
Really? It just came off. I mean, it was built in 79.
It was a federal grant, so it was an extended period of time. My guess was 20 years.
Okay.
And the other thing you have to remember is the retrofit, you've still got the same original building that the equipment's going to be put in. So, I mean, the original building's still going to be there, so it's going to be 60 years old by the time this rest of this equipment wears out. So I think, 25 years is probably our best bet.
that won't go any longer.
What was the tax increase on that 25-year one? 3 or 4?
4.07 to 4.9.
For one, for, my understanding is for 1 year,
About
right?
30 years.
Every year.
But then the pool falls off.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So the impact,
It pulls off
So-
right away.
it pulls off right away. So you end up with about a $2, roughly a $2 impact.
Almost a half.
Uh-huh.
Right.
should we take it into consideration about the pool? Should we throw out the 20-year option? Or is that just totally out of line?
It was more than $10 per thousand, right? If
When
we,
you take into consideration what he's saying, the building and the
They are going to put
60-some years old
They will
after
put a
that.
new roof on it and replace a couple of the walls, if I remember right. But pretty much it's going to be original structure.
But I don't think they'd have done that if they didn't think it was gonna last at least 20, 25 years, because they said to us, if we repair these walls and we do this and this, your structure will last.
I beg to differ. I disagree. That's exactly what has got the city, and I'm not originally from here, but that's exactly what's got us in the situation that we are right now. Years ago, we glorified to get in the pool, we have the rec center, we have the kids' world, but we've neglected the infrastructure.